And she writes a lot for Rain Taxi. She's very prolific, all over the place.
I haven't met her. No, I've only been in contact with a few people from the press.
Oh, and you're over in Brooklyn. That's cool. You go to Young Ethel's? You go
No,
to the
what's Young Ethel's?
It's a poetry series. I'm gonna read there. I'll send you a note.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to mute you all and turn it over to Mark.
Sounds good.
Take it away, Mark.
Well, hi everybody. Hi everybody. I'm delighted to have this wonderful feature today, including Leslie Ullman, Mike Carlson, Mariano Zaro, and hopefully Teresa Dzieglewicz. We hope she's still going to show up. But even if not, the show shall continue. To warm up the mic, I'm going to introduce my co-host, Jeffrey Cyphers Wright, who received his MFA after studying with Allen Ginsberg. He's known as a new romantic poet. He's also a publisher, critic, eco-activist, impresario, filmmaker, puppeteer, and artist. He's the author of 19 books of poetry, including Blue Lyre and Party Everywhere. And his poems appeared extensively in places like New American Writing, the Brooklyn Rail, and Posit. His recent work also appears in the anthologies Best American Poetry, New York Insiders, and Contemporary Surrealist and Magical Realist Poetry. Jeff's latest book is one of sonnets, an artwork called Got Doppelgangster, and came out with my own Mad Hat Press a couple of years ago. And also, Jeff won the Sir Vision James Tate Prize. Jeff also publishes Live Mag, which is a great journal. Hey, Jeff.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. So good to see you. So good to see everybody and meet these new poets. It's always wonderful. Lit Balm now in its sixth year. Yeah. And I was like wondering where Rufus was, and Mark said he had stopped by up there, but I think he came home and I think he's about to show up right now. Oh, look. Hey, Rufus, how you doing, buddy? Oh, I'm very good, thank you. I just wanted to read a little haiku here. It's called and it was such a great Thanksgiving, and it was nice to see you, Mark. Kiss me, stupid. How lovely the doves in mourning at their lutes, and the loons wooing their flutes. That was nice, Rufus. Did it have the right number of syllables? I can't count that well. Okay, Rufus, thank you. See ya. Okay, Rufus, thank you. All right, guys, let's see. Uh, I can't, I'm look, it's funny, I can't see myself, which is just odd, because it, but oh well.
So,
Uh,
will you do Cassandra's bio first? I'm going to read one of her poems.
okay.
Mine after.
Well, I didn't read my poem yet.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just like,
Okay, cluing me in. Good, because I was going to go straight to the intro to you, man. Hey, listen, I saw this guy, Roger Kamenetz, from down in our New Orleans friend, right? He's like a dream expert. He does a lot with Jewish mythology and religion and wisdom and stuff. And he goes all into Carl Jung and everything. And I saw him over here at his kid's house in Brooklyn, and it was a fun little party. This great artist, Archie Rand, who's a good friend of John Yells, was there. So, as he was reading, I sort of was taking notes and thinking about this stuff. And then later I had to go and look some of it up because I didn't really even know. But I've read Carl Jung. In fact, I called this poem Carl Jung and the Restless, like if it was kind of a band, like Mark's got. Carl Jung and the Restless for Roger Kamenetz. Radical amazement. Walking down the street, listen to the cardinal say, cheer, cheer, cheer. An affinity for infinity stresses the unstressing. Take minutes on the minute, the everyday. A Japanese lantern floats in the foyer. A black and white cat dashes upstairs when we clap. Yay, Roger! Outside, the skyline of gold spires dispels darkness with its spell. The angel moving company shows up. Anima and animus negotiate with the agent. You're not wrong to shine Morpheus's shoes, and I am too. Three blessings and an interlude. Fear can be a source of harmony. Face the muse. Inner resources are resources that can carry you. Roger Kamenetz. So let me say a word about Cassandra, and then Mark will read her poem, and we miss her, and wish her well. She'll be back soon. Cassandra Atherton is an award-winning prose poet and international expert on prose poetry. Her prose poetry is widely anthologized and has been translated into Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. Cassandra has published more than 30 books and is currently writing an illustrated book of prose poetry on the Hiroshima Maidens with funding from the Australia Council and the Victorian government. Cassandra co-wrote prose poetry, an introduction, and co-edited the anthology of Australian prose poetry. She's commissioning editor for Westerly magazine and professor of writing and literature in Melbourne, Australia. Our charming, wonderful co-host, Cassandra Atherton. All right, Mark.
All right. So this is called Hiroshima Sublime. First, there is nothing. Second, there is something, but it's nothing. I'm not writing anything. I'm writing everything. No one will read it. It will be forgiven. By next year, next month, tomorrow, now. I remember everything. I see you drinking gin by the window. The bottle is pink like neon or cherry blossom. As pink as pinking shears. You cannot stay, I cannot leave. We meet in the in-between. We part in the periphery. The atomic bomb done. Dome remains. In the memorial mound, remains are at rest. I don't remember what you said to me. Hiroshima is a metonym. Hiroshima is the atomic bomb dome, centotaph, and bone dust. Hiroshima is bottles of water on shrines. Hiroshima is the eternal flame. When the cloud is described as a mushroom, it's organic. When the cloud is identified as Dante's Inferno, it's literature. When it's nameless, it is man-made. It cannot be insured against. That's State Farm policy. We walk through Hiroshima Peace Park and you take my hand in silence. The sun warps the brim of my hat. It quiets the cicadas. We leave, we return. We don't talk about it. In the Hiroshima Prince Hotel, you stand your toast on its side so it doesn't get soggy with heat. We're late to breakfast, just edging in before 10 o'clock. My hair is a nest. You like your omelets wet, but I prefer miso soup and 3 silver pieces of smoked mackerel. After I pour a tomato sauce hot on your plate, you call me your coddled egg, and we go back to our room. You straddle me in the blue of the Seto Inland Sea. I roll you onto your side and map the irregular coastline of your spine. I sleep with ghosts. I sleep in beds with the outlines of others on the mattress. Our memories are redacted, and we forget in black and white. I nap next to hollows in the middle of pillows. I am a pillow book. You are the lover. We begin to remember everything. That's Cassandra.
Oh, that was great. Now, let me introduce you, Mark.
Sure.
Mark Vincennes is a poet, fiction writer, translator, editor, publisher, designer, multi-genre artist, musician, and rock god. And he has a new album out with his band. And he's got some of his books include The Pearl Diver of Irimani, The King of Prussia is Drunk on Stars, Spells for the Wicked from Unlikely Books, Ironclad from our friends over at Spite and Dival, and one from Dos Madres and White Pines. He's got so many books and such wonderful titles. And No More Animal Songs is coming out now. It's just finished and wrapping it up. Mark's also a prolific translator and translates from the German, Romanian, Spanish, Icelandic, and French. He's published 12 books of translations, including an audible block selected poems by award-winning Swiss poet and novelist Klaus Merz. And that won the 2023 Massachusetts Book Prize for Translated Literature. His newest book of translations, In the House, Still Light, also by Klaus Merz, was just released by White Pine Press, the great Dennis Maloney, the editor up there. Mark's also been translated, his own poems have been translated into at least 100 languages, probably more, including Japanese, Chinese, Greek, German, Icelandic, and Elfish. Mark is also he's an editor and publisher, not only of the Great Mad Hat Press, but also of New American Writing, and lately, I guess that new one, the Fortnightly. Mark lives out there on a farm in rural Western Massachusetts, overlooking the famed Herman Melville's Greylock Mountain. And that was Melville's inspiration for Moby Dick. And where there are still more, let's see what's up out there in the Greylock Mountain today. More eastern blood-sucking conoses.
Cone noses.
Cone, of course. Blood-sucking cone noses. Two lines, spittlebugs and dragon hunters than there are ten-toed, bipedal earthlings like us. Let's welcome our host, Mark Vincent.
Thank you, Jeff. And so this is a poem called Lesser Known Creatures of the Deep. And it's based on the concept of the globster. So a globster is an unidentified or unidentifiable organic mass or blob that washes up on the shore of a large body of water. Occasionally, these blobs have been equated with the legendary sea monsters from the deep, such as the kraken, the hydra, or the cetus, or in some cases, even extraterrestrial creatures. And here is Lesser Known Creatures of the Deep. A globster appeared on the shore on New Year's Day. Children and wild dogs could be seen walking back to town with giant tentacles, barbs, parts of fins, shiny scales, or, in Ammon's case, an eye, one of four, around the size and color of his sister's newborn head. He weighed it in his hands and decided it was a little heavier than a cantaloupe. With a bundle of string, Ammon fashioned a halter for the eye and took to wearing it on his back like an eyeball knapsack. That evening, as he and his friends were fussing around near the disused plutonium plant, tossing empty bottles into broken windows, the eye started to weep salty tears. "Why do you think she's crying?" Momo asked. He had a great smear of dirt across his forehead. His mutt, Machiavelli, had something in his mouth that looked like mint jelly, but smelled like rotting fish. A great dollop of sticky liquid ran down Ammon's legs. Eventually, they all surrounded the knapsack eye, perched on the top of a drum marked toxic waste. Ammon, Momo, Musty, and Machiavelli stared in disbelief. The eye appeared to be blinking. "Could it be a Charybdis?" Momo said. "A Froken?" said Musty. But Ammon knew only the Muskemo had those fine eyelashes. Not weird at all. And here we go. Next we hear from one of our Lit Balm featured readers today, who is Leslie Ullman, and who's the author of 7 poetry collections, most recently Unruly Tree from University of New Mexico Press, a collection whose poems take their titles from Brian Eno's Oblique Strategies. Leslie also has published a hybrid collection of craft essays, writing exercises and poems entitled Library of Small Happiness from Three Towers Press, and a chapbook entitled Self-Portrait as a Vanishing Act, a playful collection of self-portraits as a mostly non-human phenomena, which was published by Lilly Review Press this year. Leslie is Professor Emerita at UT El Paso, where she taught for 27 years, and she remains a faculty member in the low residency MFA program at Vermont College of the Fine Arts. Leslie's awards include the Yale Series of Younger Poets, the Iowa Poetry Prize, 2 NEA fellowships, and a New Mexico Arizona Book Award for Poetry. Leslie lives in Taos, New Mexico. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you so much. This is kind of a fun organization. I watched some of your other programs about last week, and they're a lot of fun. You guys look like you enjoy yourselves and have a really nice, cozy, irreverent community. So thank you for letting me be part of it today. I'm going to read a few poems from Unruly Tree, and as you all know, all of the poems are titled after, each title is one of Brian Eno's oblique strategy. And these were designed by Eno and an artist named Peter Schmidt to help artists get out of a rut and to get them out of lateral thinking. So there's 110 prompts. None of them make sense, which is why I was attracted to them. And I just decided to take each one as a title and see where it would take me. So the ones I'm going to read now, I'll read you what the prompts sound like. Some of them make a little bit of sense and some of them don't. Abandon normal instruments was one. What mistakes did you make last time? Faced with a choice, do both. Honor thy error as hidden intention. That actually makes a lot of sense. And is the tuning appropriate? Some other ones are single words, or hyphenated bunches of words together that really don't make sense, and they're way fun. So the first one, and they're all in alphabetical order. So I just went through the whole list of 110, and I started with this one, abandon normal instruments, which kind of gave me the heart to go on. I did 110 of them, and then I discarded about 40 of them. Abandon normal instruments. Sing through a grass blade, hum underwater, draw breath across the ribs, soak up 5 seconds of vibrato through the soles of the feet. Let the tiny ear hairs separate and rework a hesitant riff into surprise and glitter. Who needs the flute's polished keys or the Baroque burnished cello with its catgut moan? Test blade, breath, and the ground underfoot in registers never attempted. A chamber blend of difficult passages working their way nearly by accident to perfection. They will make a theater of you, all chandelier and red plush, every seat sold out, no room for the critic who once kept a box there. So that kind of gave me permission to get the critic out of the way as I worked my way through 110 of these guys. What mistakes did you make last time? I counted wrong. I used too many abstractions. I missed the exit. I fell off the dock walking backwards in the dark. I mistook the distinguished guest for a waiter. I kept talking after I'd made my point. I revved the engine thinking I was in reverse. I made my horse cross the cattle guard. I forgot the quiche was in the oven. I forgot to buckle the top buckle. I said blackface while giving a lecture on Berryman's dream songs. I forgot the emergency brake. I ate salty chips while drinking single malt straight up. I didn't look at my notes. I didn't cut enough. I cut too much. I didn't proofread. I didn't honor my boundaries. I lost my temper. I rushed the ending. Once I sat quietly and waited, empowered by silence, but forgot to do it again. And this one is faced with a choice, do both. I wish I was dead, a friend mumbled on the chairlift a month after his wife died. Mumbled so low I wasn't sure I heard, after I asked how he planned to spend his winter. Dead, his voice, the sear, cauterized small talk, his abyss now mine. I had never heard this in a voice before, utterance from the realm of endings. I touched his arm, feeling the chill slice me, bind me, and then we skied down that sparkling mountain, dead, dead, as we carved our turns from the habit of living, dead, a curtain I suddenly could not part, vacuum I could never again dismiss, dead, the two of us, savoring our skills even then, because what else could we do as our skis caressed from memory the loved terrain and bright snow, sunlight touching us, dying all over. This book got me into writing about lots of different art forms, not just music, and then some other things that weren't art. This one was one of the ones I did about painting. Honor thy error as hidden intention. Robert Motherwell raised his brush, muttering, his whole body stretching into his mistakes. I have uttered wrong words, cliches that fell flat, but sometimes led away from themselves to unexpected freedoms, and misspellings turned visitations. Once I wrote slightful and felt a little ghost tickling my shoulder. See how spilled toothpicks make a lattice Mondrian lost and found himself in? Water everywhere finds its way down, creating fissures, havoc, mud, tumbling and buffing river stones to a smoothness Henry Moore loved as silhouette and skin. Woman, repose. Gravity never apologizes for a mess, though I have made errors from which the court inside me will never let me off. Fault line, plucked nerve of shame. Jackson Pollock just poured more paint on the canvas every time a can, oops, tipped over. And this last one I'll read from Unruly Tree is called, Is the Tuning Appropriate? Attenuated A before the maestro steps out. The note unfolds, golden wing from a single bow stroke to waken woodwind and brass, gut string and ivory. Pulling the stream of notes into its furl, where, after ritual dissonance and waverings, they swirl into one thread, a timbre redolent of plush and polish, tasteful, calibrated, marking a modest release of anticipation. It's matinee day at Symphony Hall, where most of the regulars are over 85. Propped by investments, children who visit when they can, and resumed caregivers, they bob over canes and folding walkers, late to their seats, their skin translucent, hair thinned to auras, invisible except when someone impatient wants to pass. Easy to forget they were once quick, graceful, eyes clear and back straight, and beautiful to someone or many. Some faced bullets and flames, watched the slaughter of friends and didn't back down. Some bore heartbreak on their shoulders until love or hope could find its way again and again. And what does it mean to raise a family? To lift and keep it aloft when resolve wavers, when a middle child steals from the neighbors or leaves home and never looks back, when a first spouse shuts down the future for a time, when savings are gambled away. What grit to forgive, and then forgive the body as it fails. Each patron has bathed and dressed, and left safe space for this moment when the concertmaster offers the first burnished note of the afternoon. It's matinee day at Symphony Hall, where most of the regulars are breakable. May the music treat them gently.
Thank you, Leslie.
I'll read a couple from Self-Portrait as Vanishing Act. And indeed, these are not about me. I write about myself, but not in this book. So I'll read a couple. This first one is Self-Portrait as a Metropolis. I am all angle and asphalt, impenetrable as Achilles' shield, cross streets, quarrelsome and clouded with traffic, trying to get somewhere, like bee swarms caught in their own maelstroms. Too many hives here. Which way is home? Sunlight glints off black windows, pinched seeds set in rows against the skyline. I ignite ambitions fulfilled and then forgotten. Chronic longing and impatience so ingrained, even a stoplight causes cortisol spike and flare of ulcer. I am lines at the deli, the corner of Madison and 47th, the post office, the bus, and congestion on sidewalks where the locals have mastered duck and dodge, holding their satchels close. They all wear black or beige, but for a smattering of children in pastels or neon. Some days, when the weather makes its way through as snowfall or serious rain, I am briefly softened or polished, moisture tamping the exhalations of subway grates and muting the noise of drills battling concrete. My elevators, vertical trunks rising from a network of basements, smell of wet wool. But there's a giddiness, some message from another world to shake off umbrellas or stamp off boots. Expectation that can't be grasped. Daydream of soft soil and new or dormant green, a crack in my shield, a transport. Soon, when summer thunder rolls over the spikes and shafts that bristle me, I too may relinquish a bit of what I have tensed and hardened into. And this last one I'll read is Self-Portrait as an O'Keeffe Flower. I was never what the critics proclaimed. They never touched the core of me, those smug assumptions that swirled and swelled until they self-combusted over tepid wine and canapes at gallery openings and filled the columns of Art Forum and Art News with Freudian jargon, condescension, and self-importance. I stayed out of it, as did O'Keeffe. She removed herself to a high desert dwelling made of straw and mud, where the light worked its magic over uninhabited expanses of sand and sage and layers of ancient rock, while I remained on canvas to be exhibited, purchased, and endlessly reproduced. So let me set things straight. I am not orifice, not birth portal, and most surely not invitation. I arise from the lineage of Michelangelo and Fibonacci, divinely proportioned, my center the still point from which my petals open in homage to nature's laws that govern a lot more than the sex life of humans. So leave the vagina out of it. And virginity. Whatever else I hide in there is mine alone, and I guard it the way the skull, which O'Keeffe also chose to paint, surrounds the secrets of thought, feeling, and sometimes genius. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And next we hear from Mariano Zaro, who is the author of 7 books of poetry, most recently The Weight of Sound from Walton Well Press and Decoding Sparrows, and Padre Tierra from Olefante in Zaragoza, Spain. Mariano's translations include Buja de Llamas by Tony Barnstone and Cómo escribir una canción de amor by Soleil Wolpe. Mariano's poems have been included in the anthologies Monster Verse from Penguin, Poetry Goes to the Movies, Beyond Baroque, and several magazines in Mexico, Spain, and the United States. His short stories have appeared in Portland Review, Baltimore Review, and the Louisville Review. He's also the winner of the 2004 Roanoke Review Short Fiction Prize and the 2018 Martha's Vineyard Institute of Creative Writing Short Fiction Prize. He earned a PhD in linguistics from the University of Granada and a master's in literature from the University of Zaragoza, a place where I've been several times, by the way, Mariano. He's a professor of Spanish at Rio Hondo Community College in Whittier, California. Welcome, Mariano.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mark and Jeffrey and Cassandra, for this invitation. And I'm looking forward to hearing all your poems. I'm going to read 4 poems from The Weight of Sound. This is my newest collection. It was published here in Los Angeles last month. The release day was October 25th, so the book is a month old. In The Weight of Sound, I use language borrowed from different scientific disciplines, including biology, medicine, anatomy. So you will hear that language in the poems. I'm going to start with the poem that opens the book, On a Silver Platter. On a silver platter. The world has become heavy, I tell my doctor. A door handle, a page in a book, an empty glass. I want you to see this, she says. She points at the black and white image on her computer screen. She wears a wedding band, but I don't want to know anything about her. I don't want her to have a husband, children, parents, siblings. This is your spine, she says, from C1 to L5. Do you see these spots? Yes, I say. What are they? Sadness, she says. Are you sure, I ask? It's a clear case, she says. The location, the shape, the density. Some patients present transparent sadness. We call it type 0. Very difficult to diagnose, even using a dye for contrast. Yours, however, is translucent, type 1, and it's shaped like pellets, you see, very common in type 1. Type 2, the opaque sadness, is shaped like filaments that run alongside the muscle fibers. Type 1 stays close to the spine, may cause weakness, trembling, paresthesia, night sweats, sexual dysfunction. The last identified sadness is called inner type, she says. It generates in the amygdala. It looks like a rain of electrical spores that can reach any part of the body. Does type 1 explain all my symptoms, I ask. We can't be sure, she says. The research is not conclusive, but sadness explains many things. What should I do, I ask. Some patients try to rest more and calm down, but sometimes they fall into hypersomnia, she says. Balance is everything, she adds. Some patients cry, some play sports for dopamine release, some listen to music, Bach most of all. I don't like sports, I say, but I like Bach. What do you do with your own sadness, I ask. I just keep plowing, she says. Will I improve, I ask. You will, she says, but there is no cure for sadness. It stays with you always. What about the future sadness, I ask. We will cross that bridge when we get there. Do you pray, meditate, she asks. Not really, I say. How can the body function with all this sadness, I ask. Nobody knows, she says, but some scientists theorize that the body wouldn't be able to function without sadness. Just a hypothesis. Do you think I could survive a lifelong load of sadness delivered in a single day? I ask. She plays with her wedding band. Imagine your sadness, doctor, all at once on a silver platter, I say. All at once, she says, on a silver platter, like the head of John the Baptist. I was an elementary school teacher in Los Angeles for 10 years, and I wrote a poem about my time in these schools. It's very difficult to write about children because I always feel I'm stealing something that doesn't belong to me, that belongs to them. But this is like a snapshot of my time as an elementary school teacher in Los Angeles. And this is the title of the poem. An elementary school in Los Angeles after the summer break. There is no air conditioning, and I ask the principal for a fan. The custodian brings a fan to the classroom, but the fan is old, more like a turbine, industrial, loud, so loud I cannot hear the students when they read. I have to turn it off. We're all sweaty and sticky, and I tell the students, we are going to clean the desks today, yes, with soap and water. Go to the sink, open the faucet, wash your face, get a paper towel or two, clean your desk or not, splash all you want, who cares? I go to Ernesto's desk, I lean over, and before I say anything, he tells me, I know I can't wash my face here, maestro, I know. Ernesto's left eye is covered with an adhesive patch the color of caramel. He's 10 years old. Ernesto went to visit his grandmother in the summer and playing with other children, playing with canes and reeds by the river, something happened. Algo me hirió el ojo, maestro. This is what he tells me. Something wounded my eye. It was nobody's fault. And then he says, hospital, infection, antibiotics. Speaking more like an adult than a child, he says, septic infection, surgery, eye socket, temporary prosthesis, and revisions. And now I have to wait for the permanent one, he says. I have to wait. The doctors are all very nice to me, and I still can do everything, maestro. It doesn't hurt. Today, I want to say what you told me in that classroom, that it doesn't hurt. I want to say it with your conviction, without blame. This is another childhood snapshot, but this is from my own childhood. And the only thing you need to know about the poem is a reference about Franco. Franco ruled Spain under dictatorship for almost 40 years. He died in 1975, and this poem is in 1976. So this is a year after Franco died. The title is My Sister Holds My Hand in the Dark. It's not really a theater. It's a bar where young people gather. They put a projector on the counter in front of the tap. They turn the lights off. It's 1976. I am 12. My sister's 22. Franco just died. She takes me to see foreign films on Fridays. Her boyfriend buys me soda, popcorn. He smokes. Everybody smokes. He has long hair, wears a braided leather bracelet, silver and turquoise beads. This is one of those European movies, my sister tells me. Not a word to mother, do you understand? This is the beginning of secrets. European sounds dark, disturbing, and you know that someone naked may pop up on the screen at any time. Not sure if you should bring your brother to these movies, the boyfriend says. I'm here for the popcorn, I say. You know, he's not like the other kids, my sister says. This is the beginning of labeling. My sister holds my hand in some scenes, shards of glass in cries and whispers, the rape into women, when shallow rambling dances in the night porter. I want to be like them, I tell my sister when we leave. To be like who? She asks. Like the people in the movies, I say. This is the beginning of pretending. And I'm gonna end with a poem about my mother. The title of the poem is Thermostat, and thank you everybody for being here today. Thermostat. Turn down the thermostat. It's so hot here, my mother says. She is sitting in a wheelchair near the window. The thermostat is a white plastic box on the wall. It has a small digital screen, two buttons the shape of a triangle, plus and minus, a dial with tiny indentations, and the on-off switch. It doesn't work. The nursing home has central heating, but you cannot control it from the bedrooms. Are you my son or my grandson? How old are you? Are you my son, the one that lives far away in that faraway country? Why don't you want to have children? She asks me. It has been snowing all morning, just stopped. Look at the snow, she says. So clean. I'm reading a brochure the doctor left earlier. Brain cells lose their ability to communicate with one another. Two abnormal structures called plaques and tangles are prime suspects in damaging and killing nerve cells. Let's go outside, my mother says. We cannot go outside, mother, in this weather, I tell her. At least open the window. I cannot breathe, she says. Plaques are deposits of a protein fragment called beta amyloid that build up in the spaces between nerve cells. Tangles are twisted fibers of another protein called tau that build up inside cells. Take your children to the park. Play with them, she tells me. Snow is wasted when you don't have children. Open the window. I want to feel the cold. I don't think we can do that, I say. You may get sick. Who cares if I die today or tomorrow? Open the window, she says. Just for 15 seconds, I say. Newer research suggests that this type of brain disease is mainly an autoimmune disorder. I take the bed's comforter and swaddle my mother, wheelchair and all, like a cocoon. 15 seconds, I say. I open the window. The cool air enters the room like a giant, like an ice river. 15 seconds, I say, and we count together, whispering, and I close the window. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariano. Next, we're delighted to hear from Mike Carlson, who's the author of Tips to Help You Do Your Best, which was published by Tupelo in July. Mike's first collection of poems, Cement Guitar, was awarded the Juniper Prize, and his poems have appeared in the Antioch Review, Gulf Coast, New Letters, Seneca Review, the Southern Review, and many other places. He's a teacher at PS 107 in Brooklyn. Welcome, Mike.
Hi there. Thank you guys so much for having me. I want to thank Cassandra for inviting me to read, and Leslie and Mariano for wonderful readings. I wasn't sure what I would start with today, but I opened my book, and my book is called Tips to Help You Do Your Best. It's a manuscript I wrote over a long time. It had a number of different titles, but I sort of organized it kind of like three little manuals. And when I gave it that title, I started to realize, I had all these different poems that resonated with it. And one of them is this one. It's called Song of My Best Self. For I have given too much of my life to the spirit who would be good at things only by practicing. For there must be another spirit who is a natural, who was raised by rhododendrons and concentric moonlight. For in light of my anger at coworkers, for those who are so wrong that no one explains their errors to them, for the moron with unfathomable self-confidence, with only the borrowed syntax of humor, without one toothpick or prayer bead or clover leaf of humility, for his authentic counterpart in a heap in the bathroom sobbing, for the birds still silent days after the explosions, still wary and unpatriotic and sad, I have given too much power to premises. For the trees hang from the earth, for I look up at them and remove my glasses, for there are no individual leaves, only wet blurs and rough clumps, only vague glands, pretentious growth, heaps of woven fuzz. For dawn is a clean time, for no one can instruct me out of which practices to extract what it means to be good or present or sane. For I am not Walt Whitman, for I reject volume and democracy, for I veto satisfaction in favor of collecting driftwood. For if you walk out with me on the beach just north of Esterios, I will exhaust your interest in me. For I am like the mysterious cows drowsing on the sand where the beach turns in below the milk trees. For my loose fat is a robe for my bent skeleton. For it is almost too much for me to lift my head, even at danger. For the rusty refrigerators men have tossed along the shore don't bother me. For I have no plans to remove or recycle them. For they are as natural as the rocks or the reeds for which I take no responsibility. For who needs me to say the earth has been mishandled? Thank you. The third section of this book is called Theory and Practice of Landscape Poetry. And at this point, I was writing the poems in this section. I really sort of had just taken the idea of like I really wanted all my poems to be grounded in a landscape. And I felt like there was a way to get at meaning by being in a place in the poem that I don't know, that I just really wanted to practice. And at the time, that section has a couple of different epigraphs, but one is from a Strokes song that I was playing to my students at the time. And now my fears, they come to me in threes. And all of these poems have titles that are sort of variations on one another. I'm a fifth grade teacher, by the way, Mariano, so I understand where you're coming from. So I'm going to read this one. I'm going to read this set of three. The first one is, You Would Have Enjoyed the Silos. That shade of white, the smug call temporary. Deer near the edge of the woods look up at it and tilt their heads skeptically. The river breeze isn't enough. You could end a sentence with because and no one would ask you to continue. Yesterday, dusk felt short, but today this stillness has been gathering for hours. It isn't even evening. The grass the mower missed, the grass that bunches where these silos meet the ground, is stiff and speckled white and suggests the absence of a supervisor. The men who chose this color aren't the kind of men who make a list or tell their guys to lay a drop cloth down. They aren't the kind of men who tilt their heads while looking up at things. And this one's called You Would Have Enjoyed This Sermon. I was jealous of the way the others followed the story, how the boy could say coin, and there was a coin in the yarn of my brain as if he had handed me something. Earlier, I had been handed a can of beer, a trowel with a purple handle, a little bag of metal stakes for the tent. Now I was given a dying goat with a green scar on its cheek, a pail of ancient hammers, a broken television. It went on like that. We were sitting around a fire. There were stars overhead and fish leaping from the reservoir that lapped at our shoulders. It went on and on. The boy described picking a hammer from a large bronze pail and hiding in the empty cabinet of an old wooden television set while the city was attacked by farmers. The password was coin, and you had to decide if you would take all 4 pills yourself or risk an insane asthma to save your precious goat. I was jealous of the way the others followed the story. And the last one of this set is You Would Have Enjoyed the Weather. Days I reached the sea count twice. Once for what the handles of a dune remind me of, and then again for what the dune leaves out. The wooden stairs a sloppy wind-made mound can't stand for in my fathoming. On bad days, any boardwalk is a threshold. The sound of a seagull stabbing its beak too far below the gills of a mackerel is the sound of a lunatic grandfather sorting a box of old socket wrenches. On bad days, the horizon is hard to explain. I feel my panic soften in a breeze that stops before it fails to cool another stone. People who hate hints, hate life amid witch hazel, hate looking at holly shrubs, hate documentaries about this or that bridge. The sea air isn't good for them. If we lived here, foghorns would activate tides in our bladders. Wind would swing the boats out in the water so they faced the same direction, east. Between bouts of unintentional glowering, colonoscopies in adolescence, requests for the introvert to join in a song, sunlight washes 3 sides of a fog. More time to read is all anybody wants. Time for the sky to clear. Time for the mud on the road to reveal itself as stolen sod. In the city, trespassing is hard, but in a sea town, you climb a low rock wall and step off into leaves that applaud you. You kick a half-empty bottle of windshield washer fluid into the tall, dead grass beside the blackberries. You sit on a pile of branches. So I wanted to read one more poem. It's a newer poem. The title is Long Description of a Shield. And there's somewhere I was reading Samuel Johnson, and he was complaining about things he didn't like in poetry. And he said, like, a long description of a shield. Like, I don't want to read that. And so whenever I see something like that, I kind of make a note of it, and it seems like a challenge. I always wanted to write a poem called Long Description of a Shield. So this is that poem. Almost every Saturday for the last 5 years, I've walked down the block between the cemetery and the electrical substation, and every once in a while I come upon some minor consequence of its seclusion. A plastic bottle filled with urine, an air conditioner torn open and stripped of its copper tubes, but only once did I come across a legitimate act of medieval vandalism. It wasn't just that the minivan had been broken into. It was that someone had driven a monstrous kite-shaped slab of granite through that horizon of tinted glass and left it there in the out-of-date car seat, as though I had time to interpret its colors, as though its clefts and ridges were a coat of arms, and each quadrant held a clue to the secrets of sobriety and weight loss. What does one make of 2 possums fighting over a harp? A bird's nest full of keys and wooden spoons, an owl with a wristwatch in its beak, a dragon rising from the ruins of a shattered bird bath. One can only stand alone in front of a broken window for so long before feeling complicit in the crime and vulnerable to accusations, so I continued walking down the hill. In the distance, a church spire, recently divided by the columns of a building under construction, newly segmented by the beams that would eventually block it from view, pointed upward at a cloud shaped like a wooden cart overflowing with goblets and chamber pots and shovels. I thought about the shield and the other objects I'd lost sight of. I began a futile tally. Later that morning, I returned up the same street, still searching the distorted corridors of my memory for things I had not quite forgotten. I started trying to imitate Paul's letters to the Corinthians. What would I say to the Corinthians? How would I begin? I would probably highlight the importance of punctuality, of being in the moonlit square just as the horses begin to tremble, of showing up right before the lantern goes out in the last 3 moments of a conversation about possibly setting fire to a shawl. Maybe I would tell them about the shield and the air conditioners and what the bottles of urine reveal about the depraved, dehydrated men that make their living selling salvaged copper. Women don't pee in plastic bottles, I would insist, and if they did, they wouldn't leave them next to curbs to be cataloged in overblown strophes about vandalism. Women are so much better than men, it is actually ridiculous. That might be a good way to start. If I wrote a second letter, maybe I'd acknowledge my own part in being a man, perhaps one of my own acts of vandalism. I could talk about what I think was likely my final one, though of course one can never be sure. My dearest Corinthians, I had stepped out onto my parents' back porch after returning home from 2 years away in Iowa. All of their old-fashioned deck furniture was gone. The warped boards were bare, a weathered, neglected gray, except for one purple stone, which I picked up and hefted like a large set of house keys. A breeze lifted our neighbor's idiotic seasonal flag, a gnome in a bee costume, and set it down as though it were a signal. In the weight of that stone, I could feel exactly how far away our neighbor's bird bath was, precisely what line the stone might take to find the blue ceramic bowl, resting like a round blue shield on a column rising from a bed of black-eyed Susans. A whole life of bad aim was made up for in the arc of that stone as it sailed entirely toward that bird bath. I watched it cross the intricate details of an enormous cloudy sky. It was like the fingertip of a dying scholar skimming an overwrought description, or the shadow of that fingertip as seen from the opposite side of a page of sky so ancient and pallid it might well have been ripped out of a bishop's folio. It looked exactly the way I thought it would, coming down from blank to blank, the way my arm had felt, the way the cushion of the tip of my middle finger had insisted on. I wasn't in any way surprised at the dull clink and the soft thud as the back quarter of the shield-like bowl fell into the mesh of grass and yellow flowers. There is no defense against that kind of stupidity, I was sure the whole way. Thank you.
All right, all right. That was something else, huh?
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I mean, we're reading Leslie, Mariano, Mike. Unfortunately, Teresa couldn't join us today. But now we're going to hear from John Wessick, who's our technical director and who's had hundreds of poems and stories appear in journals such as the I-70 Review, New Verse News, Patterson Literary Review, and Unlikely Stories. He's regional editor of the San Diego Poetry Annual and host of the Gelato East Fiction Open Mic, as well as the NAV Arts Poetry Reading. His later short stories collection is St. John the Blasphemer, and he lives in Manchester, New Hampshire, and longs for gene editing to bring giant wombats back from extinction, which they eventually will.
We can only hope. We can only hope. I will read you the opening to one of the stories in my latest collection. And just a reminder, it's not too late to give the gift of sarcasm as a holiday gift. This is called Product Placement Theater Presents Farewell, My Duckling. It was May, and the sky was as blue as a silver inlaid turquoise nipple ring available at Totally Turquoise. That's Totally Turquoise for gifts that'll impress your mistress at prices your wife won't notice. My name is Morris Pillbottle, and the marketing deal I made to supplement my income as a private detective let me afford a chicken salad sandwich at Nicky Santoro's, which orbited the three-body hotel's chaotic lobby. The chicken was thin as an anorexic with liposuction on my bread. Given my expanding waistline, I suppose that was a good thing. The place was busy. A loan shark held court in front of a line of men with broken fingers who promised they'd get him his money by Tuesday. Despite the crowd, the courteous staff at Nicky Santoro's found me a seat at the counter in no time. I was about to order another Bangalore IPA when a man the size of a Ford Exterminator SUV burst into the hotel's lobby and bellowed, "Wilma, it's Ham Hock Peterman, I'm back!" He wore a cotton spandex sport jacket with side vents, notched lapels, and stretch panels, available for just $189 plus shipping and handling from Dale's Big and Tall. That's Dale's Big and Tall, the number one choice of debt collectors and mob enforcers. Guests fled after Hamhock picked up a cash register and threw it through the revolving door. Hopefully, the hotel was insured by Half Dome Insurance, the company arsonist endorsed 2-1. "What seems to be the problem?" the assistant manager asked. He was a part-timer with a hair styled at Budget Stan's Hair and Lawnmower Repair, the salon that provides a professional look at new parolee prices. Before I went into the joint, Wilma Willoughby led the duck parade from the lobby fountain up to the elevator to room 301 every night. Where is she? "Sir, we haven't held the duck parade since new management took over 7 years ago. Where's my Wilma?" The big man's fist pounded the assistant manager like a double-sided 12.5-inch meat tenderizer, available for just $14.99 at Al's Discount Cookware. Al would like you to know that he wasn't responsible for that exploding pizza oven. And remember, if it dropped off the back of a truck, you can find it at Al's. When the big man had pounded his victim thin enough to dip in egg batter and deep fry into a schnitzel, I wondered whether Wilma was a woman or had a bird, served with scallions, hoisin sauce, and Chinese pancakes, available by special order at Shanghai Triad at 3rd and Bund. Open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday, and from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Friday through Sunday. And the rest of it is in the book here. Thank you very much.
All right, John.
Oh,
Way to go, man.
so I'm handing it over to you, Jeff. Let's hear who we've got reading tonight.
All right, and before we do that, I just want to remind everybody, I believe our next reading is January 10th, and we'll have Maureen Owen, Janet Hamill, and Dennis Nerksey. So tonight, we're going to kick it off with some of our regulars, and Vicky K is going to be first. Let's hear it, Vicky.
Hi there. Okay, this is just a short one called Qualia. What kind of red is a bell pepper? It should be so easy to identify, like the red of my first kill, but I can't describe that either. Sometimes that's red tinged with blue, sometimes red tinged with yellow, and sometimes neither. I'm wearing red right now, but it's impossible to classify unless I tell you it's last week's Market Day red, or my 2024 diary red, or that 4B pencil red. Does that help? Okay, thank you.
All right, that was great. Thank you, Vicky. Wonderful to hear you again. And now we're going to go to one of our guests here, Todd Edgerton. Hey, was there another? There was Ted Dieterman here before, right? Is he friends with somebody?
He's still here. He's mine.
Oh, cool. Great. Okay. There he is. Oh, yeah. Just wanted to see if you want to read. But anyway, I'm very pleased to hear now from Todd Edgerton. You ready, Todd?
I am. Can you hear me? Um, so Mariano, you made me think. I was gonna read something else if I got the chance. But your poems about family and childhood made me think of these poems that are most recently I've been writing myself in that arena, much to my own surprise. So here's one of those. Um, the title is "We're Not All Enthralled to Our Parents." My lungs have always been my weak spot, again and again. But it was her mother, her lungs, bespotted on the image taken to Arizona to breathe with more ease in dry air, 1946, part of her taken. I just never had that family thing. Fists knocking as if trying impossibly to entwine her enfolded fingers. Part of her mother's lung taken to get at the TB as the nearly near cure slowly circulates from late 1944. My mother's father trying to explain it to his 9-year-old on the drive back before dispersing her among relatives. Mom's lungs her weakest again and again over the years, but pneumonia only strikes once in her 20s, almost married. Then her spotting again, and again her want, her motherhood wasted away. Only once more decades later, in her 80s, she coughs and phlegms and blames the weather. This weather, it's crazy. Her dreams, always crazy. His face just a blur. Dad gone a decade, mutinous lung bit split clear to his brain. Where's my wife? He asks, my mom, sitting in her usual spot, utterly bewildered. Her lungs laced with emphysema from decades veiled in second-hand smoke. The weather in our house, my whole childhood, her whole life, now in a laggard fog of COVID, she forgets how to text, sends subjectless, contentless, an email intending, no doubt, to comment on these crazy late summer spikes in heat. Thank you.
All right, Todd, thank you. That was wonderful. You remind me a little of Gary, Indiana, man. All right, all right, all right. So let's see. Now we got Dominique. I didn't hear from Dominique. Does Dominique want to read? And if not, then we're gonna go.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Let's hear from Dominique. Heck, yay.
I read a poem titled Autogenesis. There is no river, no bridge through the open window, same requiem, hypertrophy of walls, graveyard pillars. Here, sidewalks ponder, smoke ribbons swirl out of chimneys, swill the silence of their own disappearance. You shiver, everything on the brink of brokenness. Snowflake rumors, even the sky's skin professes its own abandonment. An esplanade crammed with hollow glass, cut against the glass, engulfs your shadow. At the advent of some buried belief, a stained glass window backlights a crowned body, head dissolving in the sludge. Fag hanging from purple lips, you search and your hands, pocket, lighter or match, disappeared. Eyes extinguished, embers in sockets, all that tumble where our bones will soon chatter hiccup, dust, dawning, my cypress lips, rustle your hair, wind of lies, breathe out, backwards. I weave through a maze of yew trees, the frittered fringe of tone-deaf footprints, an aura of disappeared apparition. Under the consumed hearth, fire will rekindle, faithful to its own burning. chaff bread, wheat, cinereous sky, where my child rose, a lost kite, its cutting thread, stone notches, follows my prayer. You walked the detours of my flesh, its iron bars rust-locked. I persevere from cinders, scraps of earth, life, wind, seed, offshoot, the complexion of presence. I sleep with untouchables, bodies stir, even those bathing in dormant mirrors of bitter seas, broken waves. The liquor of oblivion sips the honeyed fare. I am no longer the swimmer with a drowned face. I baptize myself. Thank you.
Yes, baptize yourself. Dominique, you're the regular Loterman of Lit Balm here today. That was wonderful. The Wind of Lies and the Snowflake Rumors. Terrific stuff. Thank you, Dominique. And coming into, let me say something about Cindy Hockman. Cindy is, oh, Cindy's my girlfriend. Oh, stop. Oh, yeah. Well, let's hear it from Cindy Hockman, the girl who has it all going for her. Cindy Hockman.
Okay. Having trouble with my computer today. All sorts of weird stuff going on. I'm just going to read a 3-liner. I don't even know if it's a haiku because it doesn't follow the 575. It was published in Haikuniverse, or however you pronounce it. And it's called Insomnia Haiku, which I think some of you can relate to. It's 11 p.m. and I'm lying in bed with Mozart and reflux. And that's it.
No, I didn't know you were part of the Fluxus movement. Nah, you and Yoko Ono, baby. All the way, Cindy Hockman.
There are a lot of things you don't know about me, Jeff.
No, I don't think so. I'm working on it.
Rufus, too.
I didn't know you were going out with Rufus, so good for him, man. Good for you. And he spilled the beans on us. Well, Cindy, let's move over to our favorite kitchen laureate, the mysterious and magnificent Mr. Bob Heeman is in the house.
Hi, folks. Okay, this will be a short one. Days. Each day a laboratory where they meet again, but always with a different outcome.
Oh, wow. Always, right?
Yeah,
Wow, that was good, man. What did you say?
thank
The
you.
Laboratory of Time or something? It was so short.
Pardon?
Would you just read that again? That was so short. I'm sorry.
Sure. Days. Each day a laboratory where they meet again, but always with a different outcome.
That's wonderful, Bob. Thank you, man. Like
Thanks.
a play. That's like a play that Godot's going to come in any minute. Super. All right, guys, another fabulous lip balm, and thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to turn it back over to our host Supremo, Mark.
Thanks, Jeff. So yeah, when's our next show?
Our next show is January 10th, Saturday, with Maureen Owen, Janet Hamill, and Dennis Nurksey, all stars. It's going to be a fun show.
Cool. So here's something to close up. It's called
I know that.
Say again.
Maureen Owen edits Jewel Board, which I've been in, with Eleanor now.
Yeah, here's something.
Good people.
I'm going to close up with this, Cindy. This is Predilections of a Protein Structure. Now we must move ahead and leap into this spiraling membrane. We are dead awake. Thank our lucky stars. Thanks everybody for a wonderful reading tonight, and see you in January. Have a great Christmas and lots of love and poetry.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks.
Ow!
Thank you.